greatest hitter who ever lived.
It was like the star came onto the center stage.
Today, the man who wrote the book on hitting selects his top 20 hitters of all time.
It's gone! There's a new home run champion of all time!
Joe DiMaggio was a fellow that had more confidence.
Willie Mays is the best ball player I have ever seen.
Oh, my! A home run!
From baggy flannels to double mitts, from the dead ball era to the rabbit ball era, you'll see why Ted calls them the 20 greatest hitters. For 19 beautiful summers, Ted Williams held court right here at Fenway Park. The Swing King, as he was called in one movie, the Splendid Splinter, as he was known to most
The Red
sports
Sox
fans,
are going for their
Ted
fourth
Williams
straight
took
win.
the art of hitting.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to EA Sports MVP Baseball. I'm Dwayne Kuiper along with Mike Krukow. On the mound to make the start for the home team, Matt Clement.
Anytime you compile a list of the greatest in any sport,
This evening's game is against the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Red Sox.
Because he's put together his list of the greatest hitters of all time, and he has some impressive numbers to back up his opinions.
This righty doesn't exactly rip up right-handed pitching.
Hitting .406 in 1941. He had a lifetime batting average of .344 in 521 home runs. And had almost 19 guys in his 19 years in the big leagues. The numbers would have been higher had Ted not taken time out from professional ball to serve as a fighter pilot in 2 wars. 6 times he won the American League batting title during his career with the Boston Red Sox.
Hit towards second base.
Became a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1966.
The catch is made by the second baseman. McKay is next up.
He loved to hit.
This guy has some success against right-handed pitchers.
His talent sparked his teammates and instilled fear.
Clement gets a call strike with the fastball. The weather at the ballpark is around 80 degrees, and that should make the fans very happy.
He wrote the science
McKay sends it to short. There's an out. Jackson steps into the batter's box.
Could be analyzed.
This batter can flat-out hit right-handed
He
pitchers.
examines the best pitches to hit, out of time to swing.
Clement delivers a fastball out of the zone.
Box of baseballs that indicated what Ted called his
2 outs and the bases are empty.
Of a pitch he needed to hit.
Hit towards the shortstop.
For serious batsmen, the book
He reaches with a single. Stepping in, Travis Hefner.
I wonder why I did certain things afterward. You know, I decided to go to the library and get the book.
It's hit over towards third.
And I'm sitting there and reading the book.
side is retired. The home team coming up next.
I don't know, 13. I read
Here's the
book,
batting order for the home
but it didn't
team.
really register, you know, and
On the mound to make the start
some
for
of
the
things that I
visiting
had read
team,
in the book,
Scott
I guess
Ellerton.
subconsciously had stuck.
Here's a look at how the
As I went
defense
on
sets up
through
to
my
begin the
high
ball
school
game.
career, and I started to play baseball, and I started doing things, and I couldn't understand why I did them. Go back to the book. And finally, I bought
Up next, Johnny Damon.
495. And I remember I started highlighting certain phrases, certain things.
Didn't like that one, and it's a ball, 1-0.
His number 1 pitch is his
When I
fastball.
got to college, you know, all of a sudden you start to hear guys saying, what kind of pitch did you hit?
Sometimes you try to make the
Where
hitter change
was
your
it?
pitch. It's exactly what you saw right there.
Boom, go back to the book.
I still have that book in my library.
There's a strike.
I know there are major league players even today.
2-1
Major
pitch.
league players today that still carry it around.
The one thing the book gave me
And a strike and a changeup.
incentive.
That is
Really
pinpoint
understand
control
what
right
it takes
there.
to be a
The
successful
catcher set a
hitter.
target on the
So,
corner, and the
believe
pitcher
me,
just
it's
hammered it for a strike.
First shot in my book was,
In foul
and I knew that I
territory,
could-
makes the catch.
Nothing special about that. Was just quick and ball, got a beat on it, made the
Ted
play.
has put his theories to use.
No one on and one out.
Players he believes to be the 20 greatest.
He hits the target for his stride.
That is pinpoint control right there. The catcher set a target on the corner, and the pitcher
He crushed that one. In deep trouble as it bounces up against the wall. Dirksen has himself a 2-base hit.
It's not obvious to throw a perfect pitch to see if you hit the run.
Next at the plate, Miguel Cabrera. Out of the zone, that's a ball.
This pitcher doesn't win games by striking out every batter he faces.
And the fellow who gets a lot of walks
Gets a strike high in the strike zone.
Some guy hits 360, the other guy hits 330, but you put your walks in there and you get 380.
Slider breaks in there for a strike.
So that's a
If
very
the hit goes to
important
right
factor
field,
that,
they may not want to run. The right fielder's going to can it for an arm.
The catch is made.
And then, of course, slugging percentage.
He tracked that ball very well off the bat. Camped under, made it easy for him.
After writing the book,
There's a
Ted
strike.
wrote invitations, inviting the greatest players alive to come and join him. The Ted Williams
Liner
Hall
right
of
at the
Fame
first
for a
baseman.
weekend-long
After
induction
one, the game is scoreless.
Feeling great. Everything's going great. All right.
For more on MVP baseball, log on to easports.com. EA Sports, it's in the game. This guy's pretty successful against right-handed pitching.
There is no one more
And it's 0-1.
the greatest student of the art of hitting baseball, the history of the game, decides to pick
Out of play.
So the 20 greatest hitters in history, and he includes me in it. And that's got to be the ultimate problem.
And on 3 pitches, he's gone.
3 pitches, 3 strikes. Doesn't get easier than that part.
Hitting is not one of this guy's strengths.
1994, he opened the Ted Williams Museum.
Ryan hits
That
one
day
to
at the
short.
Liberty Field event in front
2
of
out.
his disciples. Ted dedicated his museum to the sport and its place in America.
This righty knows how to handle right-handers on the mound.
We hope is going to
Fastball on the inner half at the knees for a strike.
enlighten people about baseball. It's going to get their interest to where they want
That's
to
in
learn more
foul
about
ground, but he should
What
have
started
room.
as a
It's a
dedication for the
1-2-3
museum
inning.
became a tribute to Ted
Heading into the
himself.
bottom of the second.
it.
No
I would
score
say
here.
that some people like to set goals.
Ortiz steps into the box.
Years ago, he was quoted as saying, as I read in the newspaper, he wanted to be
And
known
that's a
as
strike.
the greatest
That is
hitter
pinpoint
that
control
ever
right there. The catcher set a target on the corner, and the pitcher just
1936
hammered it for a strike.
to the present day.
The pitcher, for one,
I
thinks
can
the ump missed the
truthfully
call, and I
say
think he's
have
right.
never seen a better hitter than Ted Williams.
And he takes a fastball up high.
This is one imposing figure out there on
And
the
it
hill.
was
He
on
looks
that
10
day
feet tall.
that Ted first announced
Looked like a good pitch, but call the ball.
He's tallied 1 win and 4 losses
I
on the
think that's
season.
a very important addition.
He earns the free
If you would
pass.
ask
Hey, meat, make him earn it.
50 of the most
Killing
or
me.
100 of the most learned people,
Next up, Manny Ramirez.
the ball and come back and play with them.
And a strike. No balls and 1 strike.
This guy.
Hey, partner, if the pitcher can
We
keep the
have
ball
a
low in the zone, he might be able to induce a ground ball to
So
start,
we
too.
apply to all.
There's a line
And we
drive.
have tons of years of experience of people that saw a lot of the great players. And so we think we've got a pretty good
There's a double.
handle on
Fundamental hitting right there.
When we-
He deposited
when we-
that pitch over the outer half of the opposite
the
field.
names of those greatest hitters. It would be pretty hard to argue against.
Because of number 9, this area of Fenway Park in right field used to be known as Williamsburg. Here, 500
This guy isn't great against right-handed
It's a
pitching,
lonely
but he
red
does all
streak.
right.
Marks the spot for one of Ted Williams'
There's a
521
called strike.
career home runs. Still, to this day, the longest ever hit here at Fenway to right field.
Pulled to the right side.
We'll finally get a look at his list.
And he scores the first run of the game.
Of all time.
Close play, and he's out.
Limited edition programs.
1 year to the day after opening the Ted Williams Museum, Ted opened his elite hitters Hall of Fame.
His batter is in the middle of the pack, and there's a right-hander on the mound. Strike.
He averages about 4 walks per 9 innings. Not terrible, but not great.
Hit towards the shortstop.
Got him. The players on the 20 greatest hitters list were to be inducted during the Hall's opening ceremony. The induction took place in a tent at the site of the museum in Hernando, Florida. And Bob
The next batter is Mike Lowell. On an occasion, this hitter really doesn't hit for average, but he'll get the job done.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. It's exactly what you saw right there.
The runner at first is off.
Ted has already worked out his list of the 20 greatest hitters of all time.
Ellerton delivers a fastball out of the zone.
Now, the pitcher does not want to fall any further behind this guy, so he should be coming in with something across the plate. Keeping that in mind, this could be a perfect time to hit and run.
A very complicated formula.
Just out of the fielder's reach.
Either had to be a great
Sends it to the cutoff man. He's on first with a base hit.
500 pounds. A slugging percentage around 600. Or you could be a very mediocre hitter who knew a lot of great pitching skills.
Stepping in, Johnny Damon. Throws it over for a strike.
Of all time. Some of whom are here, most of whom are here.
Pulled to the right side. Cuts it off. And the inning is over with 2 runners left on board. After 2 innings, the Indians trail by 1. Up next, Isak Short. Here's a guy who does his homework against right-handed pitching. He painted the black with that one.
He's throwing 30 innings this season, and hitters are having a field day against this guy at a clip of 328.
Well, I saw him.
Slider catches the outside corner.
And I don't think Tyner has ever really got
3 pitches, 3 strikes.
Partner gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout.
Player of his recent vintage on the list is Mike Smith. Mike. There he is.
And a strike.
That looked like his
He's got
500
2
home run
wins and 2 losses this
a
season.
few years ago. And they're all his teammates.
Strokes this one into left field. Cabrera should have no problem. Makes the catch to record the out.
He said he wasn't emotional, but look at him there.
He was supreme, almighty supreme for several years in home run department
On the ground.
in the National League.
Third out. We go to the bottom of the inning.
Hell of a play.
After 2.5, Cleveland trails by 1.
Number 18, roll it for Frank Robinson.
Dirksen up next.
He has nothing on the ball.
Into right field. Puts it away for the out.
Against Frank Robinson, except an all-star.
Next at the plate, Miguel Cabrera.
Of all the players I've heard about and seen, Frank
Ellerton
Robinson has
misses
really
1-0.
got his eye on the list
He's
of
pitched 25
players
innings this
as he
season,
should
and
have.
batters
He
own
gave
this guy with a
unbelievable
season average of 352.
Throws it over for a
And I think
strike.
of all the players that I've heard about, I think it's time that Frank Robinson has really
Pitch
got
misses.
the tie on the mitt of the greatest players, as he should have. Certainly in my book, Frank's one of the
3-1.
Number 17 on the list, a great Detroit Tiger who once hit 403.
That's a 1-out walk.
in the single season.
Nothing
And came
positive
back
comes
2
out of
years
this guy
later
hit.
to hit
He's falling behind, he finally walks.
342, a real hit. Right-handed batter, hit 342.
The delivery, Cabrera is off.
When I first come to big league,
Not in
19 years
time.
old, I got to
The guy walked right into his lead. He never had a chance to throw him out.
in Detroit, Cleveland, even players around Chicago, but and on our own team.
Ellerton misses with a fastball.
Seen quite a little bit of Hyman. Now Hyman was the very first.
Caught him looking.
Everybody.
This dude has a bevy of pitches in his
that I've
arsenal.
heard say anything about him.
Hit towards first base. He fouled it off to the right.
And he has a 340 lifetime average. And that's close a lot.
He crushes it. It's off the wall. He's rounding third. And a run scores.
There's no doubt about that. A base hit all the way.
Ortiz is up. This lefty is widely considered one of the number 2.
He's the kind of guy managers just love. Pitching unbelievable right off.
Always lifted that leg at the plate.
That's a strike. Here's the pitch.
511.
The pitch is hit the other way to the left side. He reaches first safely.
17 and played more than 20 years with him. The last segment of it as their player manager, Mella.
Of all the hitters in the history of baseball, he proudly accommodated the place that he played. And
Next up, Manny Ramirez.
blend in with
This
that
guy's a pretty decent hitter.
environment.
Throws it over for a strike.
This pitcher has one dominant pitch.
That's the hardest thing to do, hit it. Pull the ball, get it.
Hit to center field.
Still,
He bobbled
did
it. He's around second.
Home runs, and he has a very big job.
Number 15 on the list.
Stand-up double.
John Lawrence, the big cut. He had devastating years with the Cardinals and with the Giants. And then considered deluxe on those great Yankee teams that won 5 consecutive World Championships from 1949 through 1953. He had 51 home runs in 1947. He tied Ralph Kiner for the National League lead that year. He was that rarity among power hitters. He seldom
strike one.
Struck out. A contact hitter, who nonetheless hit well over 300 home runs lifetime. At about
1-1 count.
He's got a four-seamer, an average cutter, and an ordinary changeup.
He's the valuable guy on the ball.
Ellerton delivers another ball. 2-1.
Very seldom the other the bad balls. I was impressed immediately.
Hit to the left side.
He didn't swing the miss field.
A run scores. In that two-out hit, he brings a runner
He
home.
still hit on a home run. And
The Indians have left it getting loose in the bullpen.
He's one of the very best hitters outside. I could keep going.
Number 14 on the list, Al Simmons. Bucket foot Al, they call him. Used to bail out and step toward third base.
0-1 count.
Guys, stealing bags is like a game of chess. It's about timing and outmaneuvering your opponent. This corner tries to go for it right here. This guy doesn't strike out too many batters, but he still manages to get guys out.
Al had a lifetime batting average of 334.
Line drive pulled to the right. The side is retired with 2 men left aboard. After 3 innings, the Indians trail by 3. Today's game is brought to you by EA Sports. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Number 13 on the list is Tris Speaker. Who knows how many American League batting titles he might have won had he not been a contemporary of Ty Cobb.
On the ground to third.
And then Speaker broke that streak.
They make the play.
1916.
Whoa, made him look easy on that out of first, guy.
Speaker had a lifetime batting average in excess of 340. He still holds the all-time record for doubles with nearly 800 of them. One of the great defensive outfielders of all time, Tris Speaker.
Line drive right to the second baseman.
And when I came to the big leagues, he was
Another single.
Kite, that's what I like about this guy. He always gets it done. You ask him to get something done, boom, he delivers.
But Speaker in his day,
Liner right at the third baseman.
That's a great play on a very tough line drive. That's one of the toughest balls in baseball to judge.
First game of the 1. Here's the payoff pitch.
They have a good count right here if they want to send that guy.
Number 12 on the list is Mickey
That will
Mantle.
fall in for a base hit.
Broke in 1951.
He's on his way to third. The throw is to the cutoff man. He's aboard with a 2-out double.
Comes from
It's not often you throw a perfect pitch and see it get hit for a double.
continued the tradition of the Roots, Garings, Maggios. And here's Mickey.
I can't say enough about Mickey Mantle today. He was devastating right-handed, absolutely devastating. And left-handed, he scared everybody out of the ballpark. I don't think he'll ever...
He's hitting 245 with 3 long balls and 13 RBIs.
I don't think he'll ever be a quick hitter.
Hit towards the
They've
shortstop.
had the power on both sides.
That's the third out, and 2 men are left hanging in scoring position. After 3.5, the score is 3-0. Coming to the plate with 1 single today, Mike Long.
Which was as close, he had 58 1 year, Jimmy Fox also had 58, as close as anybody came to this record until Roger Maris broke it in 1961. Batting average well in excess of 300 for his career, and over 300 lifetime home runs in a relatively short career. Only played 12
That's a 3-pitch strikeout.
He was a devastating
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout.
Son Steve Greenberg really excited.
He was...
Damon comes to the plate.
I think he reached out. He sort of took me under his wing, and I had some big theories on him, and they were basically theories I learned from Hank
The
Greenberg.
0-1 pitch.
And I jumped from 23 home runs my first year in the major leagues to 51 my second. So they did work pretty well. It was always recognized market.
And on 3 pitches, he's gone.
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout. With this guy hitting the guy, the infielders should be on their toes. This guy's got some great wheels.
One of the really, and our book substantiates even more than his record.
The count's even at 1.
Is that he was truly one
He
of the
delivers.
real sluggers in baseball.
Ted Williams was good friends with Hank Greenberg, and Ted says he probably talked more about hitting with Hank than anybody else. And if there's one thing Ted
Just
could do,
out of the
even better
fielder's
than hit,
reach.
it was talk about hitting. And that's exactly
He's on
what
with
we do
2
with
out
Tony
single.
Gwynn. And we continue in a moment.
I'm going to predict right this show. I'm going to do it. It's good. What? All right. I'm going to predict.
He's breaking for second. Safe with the stolen
Ted
base.
Williams Museum
The wild pitch will advance the runner 90 feet.
That's what happens when you let a base runner take a big lead. That was no contest. Easy bag.
Award to the top hitters in the major leagues. With the opening of the new hitters wing at the museum, the first modern hitters to be awarded were Jeff Bagwell and Tony Gwynn.
Jeff Bagwell of the Houston Astros.
Gathers it in with his glove. The side is retired with 1 man left on
Bagwell
base.
led the league in total bases.
After
and
4
extra
innings,
base hits in
Cleveland trails by 3. Now on to the bottom of the order.
As he was on target to possibly become the first man to hit 400 in a season since
Hit the
Ted
other
Williams
way
did
to
it
the right
over
side.
50 years ago. The strike put an end to that
Base hit to
aspiration.
lead off the
But
inning.
Gwynn did have the chance.
Hey,
to
great
sit
hitters
down
have a
with
knack
Ted
for
and
finding
walk
holes
in.
and getting base hits.
What more could a lifetime 336 batter ask for?
In order to
1
have
on
that
and nobody out.
400 year, which is the 400 year,
If ever they're going to steal a bag, it's
everything
right
has
now
to
with
go.
this guy. He really knows how to steal a
have,
bag.
you know, you get cycles of good
On the
hitting,
ground.
good pitching, you know. Everything
They
has
get
to
tied
fall
up
in
in
place.
second.
Good years, bad, everything has to
Fielder's
have-
choice.
That's good, aggressive base running right there. He got to second so quickly, there wasn't even a throw to first. No chance to turn two.
Climbing over here.
It's correct. This is right.
All right.
It's always an adventure with this righty in the box.
I certainly don't change what you're doing.
Sheets is ahead 1-0.
This pitcher needs to throw a ground ball right here. They can do that. They can get too easy with this guy. He runs like he's in quicksand.
Well, because you know you
Fly ball but to shallow left. He makes the play.
But it's over the plate in the middle. I mean, you're underneath the pitch.
Hit a nice pitch there to get the fly ball. Nice work.
If you're underneath the pitch. Well, see, that's different. See, I say late.
I say late too.
See, I hit the ball the other way.
Pitch taken for a ball.
The other way a lot.
Your lifetime batting average is .333. You've won 5 batting titles. And when Ted Williams said, now,
Taken
do you
for a
swing all
ball.
the way through in this
This
situation?
might be a good time
or
to
do you
start the
push
runner
it
on
the
first
ball?
and play hit and
You
run.
had the
The
look
count
of a
dictates that the
schoolboy,
pitcher has to throw
hoping
something
you would
over the
have
plate.
the right answer, or the teacher would
That one
slap his
splits
hand
the
with a ruler.
outfielder.
No question of that.
He's rounding
and
second.
It's funny because, you know, lots of
He's
people
around
refer to
third.
Williams as their teacher, whether
And the
if
run
they're
comes
fortunate enough
home.
to work under
It's an
him or
RBI
do like I
triple.
did, reading books and stuff.
Kai, you
And,
don't see
I
too many
mean,
players that can fly around the
anybody else
bases
asking
like that.
question,
Great
there's no
triple.
doubt. I'd say, yeah, I tried to stay behind the ball and block the ball up, but Ted's sitting there. I had to think about it for a minute, and I was a bit nervous. But, you know, I only wish that other hitters had the opportunity to sit down and talk to them about their own personal situations because you can learn so much just from talking. And he's one of the greatest hitters of all time. And this whole day, you know, having been around guys,
1 ball and no strikes.
Man, Museum, all those guys. It's been, I mean, as a hitter,
Runner on third with 2 men
tries to
down.
improve.
Out of
It's the
play.
greatest thing in the world to sit on the practice stand usually and ask him, you know, how did you do what you did? And it is, I just can't even begin to describe how exciting it is. If it wasn't for the things that these guys did for practice and baseball, but I wouldn't even have
Here's
wanted
the
to
1-2.
be a baseball player. I wouldn't even want it to be, you know, the best that I could be. I mean, there are lots of guys here. If you
He strikes out swinging.
Hey, partner, he may not want to think about this game for a while. It hasn't exactly been a shining moment in his career.
And now let's listen in on the announcement of
This is
the
a pretty good right-handed batter.
And you know, if what I said before was true about Willie Mays, why should I get in the way with any kind of
Jackson
facts or
takes,
observations?
gets even at
Just watch
1.
it. Just watch how much fun it was to watch Willie Mays play. But I will add this one thing. He admitted to me
1-2
2
count.
months ago we were at another affair, and he admitted, you know, I always did select the cap, size or two.
The pitch is taken out to
So
right.
when I got going, it was sad.
He makes the catch.
For a show,
Got a good jump on the ball, but back. He made it easy for him.
He always had the back top ready to go, and he always ready to light second to
Ortiz lays up outside for a
he was
ball.
so good at hitting the breaking ball. And he could pick up the spin on the ball.
Misses
And he
upstairs
knew
for a
breaking
ball.
He always had his hands in the right position to adjust. Well, when you say Willie Mays, you got to
Pitch
think of the
misses
Magic.
for a
When you
ball.
say the Magic, you got to think of Willie Mays. Say the two.
4 pitches, 4 balls.
Oh, it's too bad he walks this guy. He just lets him get away.
Up next with 1 single already, Manny Ramirez.
He's second in runs scored all time. He had
Pitch
8
taken
seasons
for a ball.
where he topped 40 home runs, and eventually he did the
And
unthinkable.
here's the
He
pitch.
broke the most reviewed record in baseball history.
He's batting .300 with 1 home run and 16 runs batted in.
1974 in Atlanta.
Hit weakly to right field.
755 lifetime.
Curves foul.
And perhaps certainly in our lifetime, unreachable.
The delivery.
Hank Aaron.
This one is pulled foul.
Hank Aaron, you gotta be honest with yourself and you say, well, he's the home
He
run
fouled
king.
it off to the right.
He was a great hitter, had great ability. I remember one time I told one of our pitchers, I said, you're going to pitch against a great hitter today. We were playing spring training against
2-2 the count.
I said, I want to swing sliders and curves all the time. First 2 times up, he gets the ground ball to church.
Ellerton makes the routine catch.
I said, when he gets up there again, keep throwing him that slider and curve. And when you get 1 strike, boom. Throw a fastball as hard as you can up in the air. Just to see what will happen. Well, he got him up the first time, second time, and here's the third time up with a couple of sliders.
Curveball is up
Then he
for a
threw
ball.
his best fastball, and he had a pretty
Pick off
good
throw to
fastball.
first.
And Mr. Aaron hit a blue dart.
Fastball misses downstairs.
This could be a good situation to hit another guy. This guy usually puts the ball in play.
Taken for a ball.
Hank Aaron could grip a fastball.
He walks him on 4 pitches.
In fact, the pitcher had chances to end that at bat. The batter just flat out out. It might not be a bad idea to hold the runner at third and sit the second. He can get the ball to play to the third.
He has never been formally inducted to Baseball's Hall of Fame, but he is number 8 on the list of the Ted Williams Hitters Hall of
He
Fame.
takes the pitch to
His
left.
last year, as it turned out, before the judgment by Judge
That'll do it for the Red Sox in the 5th inning.
It was 1920. He hit 380 in his final year. He hit 356.
The Indians
lifetime.
trail
Only
by
Rogers
2,
won
but there are
and
still
tied
4
up
innings
by a lifetime
remaining.
batting averages. He hit
This
408
game is brought to you by
in 19
EA Sports.
Joe Jackson.
EA Sports is in the game.
That's all I can say. I wish I could have seen Joe Jackson.
Coming up, it's the heart of the
And
order.
it's 0-1.
Top of the list of Ted Williams' 20 greatest hitters of all time.
Nobody out.
All the years that Ted Williams reigned as
Out of
the
The Indians have someone throwing in their bullpen.
was Stan Newton, as I mentioned earlier, a lifetime batting average of 341. In fact, that was always his answer.
They're going to have to do something out there. Some of these pitches ain't even close.
That harmonic, you strike back stance, you're happy-go-lucky, you say, hey, pal, you got a lifetime
That's
batting
4
average of 331.
strikeouts.
We'll be laughing too.
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout.
16 consecutive times.
The next batter is Travis Hefner.
I tell you, partner, this pitcher's got to be careful with this guy. He's got great wheels and can turn a single into a double with ease.
Stan at that time was a flat guy. He just walked there and hit the ball.
He's aboard with a 1-out single.
And
The Indians have some
you couldn't
pitchers up
say
in the
him,
bullpen.
No way. He hit the ball left field good. He throw the ball to right. He was just an all-around ball. Well, I can only give the example that I told my kid. For 5 years
On the ground.
he went to the Hall of Fame.
Hard slide. Can they turn it? That one will go down as a fielder's choice.
Went to a banquet with Stan Newton. My son was listening to him, and I brought up useless to Brian Much. When we finally
Brian
did get to the
steps
Hall
in
of
at the
Fame,
plate.
we had the ceremony. Usually was
He delivers.
recognized.
That one
and,
splits the outfielder.
praised.
He's headed to third.
All over. He said, you think he was as good a hitter as you were?
He's in there with a
I said,
2-out
"Yes, I
single.
do." Oh,
Nice work by the base runner to go from first to third on the single. The manager's got to be pleased with the job they're doing on the bases today.
And is even more in the spotlight today the movie and the book. It wasn't just what he accomplished, but what he accomplished was overwhelming with the 12 batting titles and the 367 lifetime average, 3 times topping 400 and nearly 900 stolen bases. But it was the passion and the
Anderson takes low for a ball.
This dude's got some wheels, and he knows how to pick a pitch to move on. Don't be surprised if he's taken off right here.
Around the turn of the century.
I didn't see Ty Cobb very much, but I had a chance to visit with him quite often. Several times.
That's
And of course,
crushed.
Subject did get the hit.
Off the wall.
He's only getting this type of hitter, I know.
Throw goes to the cutoff man.
Dead ball, live ball. Any way you do
He's
out.
Well, that was a questionable play. I'm being nice saying it that way. He should get a piece of the skipper's mind when he gets back to the dugout.
There's no way in the world that Ted
Score 2 that half inning.
Off the list. He puts number 5 at number 5. Joe Diaz.
Stepping in, 1 for 2. Mike Lowe.
406. Last name top 400. That very same year.
Cut fastball misses high.
That Joe Nigel hitting 56 consecutive games. And as you may know, he was stopped one night in Cleveland and a couple of great plays that I can't tell from the third base to do it. And then he went on to hit the next 16 in a row.
Cut fastball for a strike.
As a youngster in the Pacific Coast League. His name became synonymous with grace and elegance.
Hit towards second base.
And that's something that numbers alone.
1 out.
Joe Nigel can make it.
Stepping in, Johnny Damon.
He was such a great player. He did everything that
Misses outside.
I have such high esteem for him.
Ball
The
low.
way he conducted everything. But I couldn't admire him more. He's good at right hand.
3 balls, no strikes.
After the Rogers Hornsby way, when we talk about batting average and power with over 300 career home runs, top the 40 home run mark in some seasons, lifetime batting average of 358.
3-2 count.
Before Fox, even a little bit before Luke, because he started out with
To the right side. What a terrific at bat.
Baseball's perfect combination.
That's 3 strikeouts.
In 1 5-year
He falls behind, makes great pitches, however, comes all the way back and gets the strikeout.
403 for the 5 years, which included the single highest batting average since 1900, which is considered modern history baseball at 424 in 1924. Rogers, Hornsby.
Well, there's another guy. I think real quick because he's recognized by more people as the greatest right-hand hitter.
Lifts one to left.
But I say that with some
Ellerton with a 1-2-3 inning. After 6 innings, the game's tied at 3. Joy is the next hitter.
Jimmy Fox, who treated it well, a raw rookie. But even if he hadn't, pretty hard to ignore the
Taken for a ball.
of double X. A 325 lifetime average, and for years and years, he's 534.
It's hit out to center.
The second highest all time, behind the great Cam Deaton. Jimmy Fox, who had 58 home
That
runs
is ruled an
in
error.
1932 and then to 50.
Oh, pardon, the fielder took a sloppy approach to the ball, and as a result, he just plain missed the ball.
Boy, I'll tell you, you're talking about truly great hitters.
And a pair of Yankees, night number 2, and obviously number 1. The runner-up spot, the pride of the Yankees, Lou Gehrig, 2,130 consecutive games, and it's possible to be overshadowed despite what he did. Obviously, he played in the shadow of Babe Ruth, but 3 times in his career, he had better than 170 RBIs in a season. He drove in 184 in 1931, on his way for 154 games scheduled. Lifetime batting average of 340, he would have hit way over 500 home runs. He was stopped by illness at 493.
Sheets watches ball 1.
Manager needs to be thinking about defending against the bunt right here.
They put him in the same class. How could you be any better
He
than
swiped
Gehrig?
1 base.
You're 2 teams in a pot.
And now to number 1, and I can think of at least one thing.
2-1 the count.
Lou Gehrig has with Babe Ruth. He has to concede the number 1 spot. The movie about Lou Gehrig is terrific. Every movie about Babe Ruth is pretty nice. But despite that, the Babe's legend endures, and just last week, The 100th anniversary of his
3-2.
birth is celebrated all around the country. And for someone to still be that busy in the public imagination, so that little kids have no
pulls
trouble
a line
identifying
drive.
the picture or unfit public.
The corners are guarding the
The
line.
most famous, most powerful in terms of persona and popular athlete in any sport in the history of this country. 12 times the American
No
League's home run
balls,
champion.
one strike.
Career slugging percentage of .600. Babe Ruth.
That's off the catcher.
Eddie Stoddard Jr. Rick Stevens. Fielder at center.
Line drive.
5 words.
He's on with a base hit.
Babe Ruth.
Well, they got to like the results of that play. The go-ahead run is now in scoring position.
Babe Ruth, the one and only Babe Ruth. I'll tell you, he is the most recognized
Takes a pitch just off the plate, 1-0.
hero in American sports, and he is by far the most prevalent name ever mentioned when it comes to baseball.
One of the great things about Fenway Park is that on off days during the regular season, the Red Sox will actually let you come in and take a tour of this great old ballpark. So if you're ever in the vicinity of York Way, come inside the stadium and see if you can hear the strong echoes of the past. Or better still, take a seat.
3-2.
Try to imagine
Look
what
like
it
the
was
pitcher and catcher have a strategy in mind. But so far, the batters are taking these pitches.
steps to the plate for the very last time.
Turns on it and gets it on a line. He's on with a single.
And they remain standing here for the most part at Fenway Park as Williams hits probably for the last time in the Boston uniform in this ballpark. There's a drive to deep right center. It may be gone. Fred way back there.
They pull the infield in.
Well, if you had written it that way, nobody would believe it, so I even tried. Ted Williams has hit his 29th home run.
The ball is hit to right.
Of his major league career.
The catch is made.
When he played, Ted Williams' dream was that one day
The runner crosses the plate on the sacrifice fly.
There goes
To me,
the
that's a
greatest
successful
hitter of all
bat. That's a
time.
batter. Anytime you can
And
drive
you
and
might
run,
say,
you've done your
in
job.
discussing Ted's list of the top 20 all-time greatest hitters, that really it's a list of hitters 2 through 21. And you might be
Stepping in
right.
1 for 3,
You might
Travis
also be able to
Hefner.
say that in considering the list of the greatest baseball fans of all time, Ted Williams would have to be considered for the #1 slot as well.
The manager is going to
After all,
buy his
that's what the
bullpen
Ted
some
Williams
time with this
Museum
mound visit.
And his top 20 all-time hitters list
This pitcher
is all
really
about.
needs to slow
And
down
going
and
back to our
refocus.
original thought,
Seems like that trip to the
maybe
mound
this
came
didn't
just
start
at
an
the right
argument
time.
after all.
The Red Sox
And
turn
I
it
hope
over to
someday
the
that this is a
pen.
reflection
Full comes in from the bullpen.
on truly what a great game this is. How important it is to America. This, hopefully, will be a little bit of a stepping stone somewhere along the line. That's going to get a kid who
Swung
keeps
on,
going.
and there it goes.
Inspiring. Keep him going. Even this museum.
He knew that one was gone the second he hit it. What a shot.
So, well, I know I can do it. And maybe just a little inspiration every week to keep him going, and maybe someday he will be a big leaguer.
If I would take an infield and try to keep him the way I think he should hit, I would incorporate almost everything Ted Williams had to stroke or spoke about in his book. I think we all kind of hold Ted as kind of the godfather of hitting, or like
Popped him
hitting
up.
in general. What Williams say about it?
Makes the catch to record the out. All right, everybody, up on their feet. Time for the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah, I could use a bit of a break.
There will never be another Ted Williams, just like there'll never be another Babe Ruth.
I think it's important to note that if modesty didn't forbid.
And here comes the hook. Here's the relief pitcher, Bob Wickman.
The number 2 on the list. Maybe we can see the number 1 spot for Babe Ruth.
Up next, Miguel Cabrera. This batter absolutely destroys right-handed pitching.
Murderer's row. see
He's
Ted
batting
Williams and he's
.377 with 5 home runs and 25 RBIs.
His awesome ability to hit a baseball.
There's a line drive.
There was only one Ted
Good
Williams.
start to the inning. A leadoff single.
He started this inning off in fine fashion. Let's see if his teammates can pick him up.
Man on first with no outs. Takes the pitch just off the plate, 1-0.
Spring training. One of our stars here today, Bobby York, said to him, "Wait till you see Jimmy Fox hit." Ted Ray said, "Well, wait till Fox sees me hit." We all remember this. I know all these guys do. He was hitting
The pitch.
3.995.
Strike 3, and he's gone.
Well, you talk about making a pitch right there. He's really backed up against the wall, and then he digs deep, makes great pitches, and gets the strikeout.
And he refused. He went 6 for 8 to finish at 406.
Grounded to the right side. They turned the double play.
That pitcher really needed that defensive play behind him. He got the double play.
The grandest hitter of all and one of America's greatest heroes who ever lived.
With 2 innings
Williams,
left,
we
the
are
Red
your
Sox
friends and
trail
we
by
love you
4.
dearly.
He's done for the day. Williamson comes in to provide some relief.
Won their 6th NBA championship.
Gibson swings.
Hit the other way to the right side.
Unbelievable! I don't believe what I just saw.
0-1 the count.
Hello, I'm Chris Fowler for Sports Century. Hank Greenberg not only carried a big stick, he carried a big burden, the burden of anti-Semitism. He bore both with uncommon valor.
The
He backed
count's 1-2.
baseball with a great
Looks like the
sweeping
pitcher and
stroke,
catcher have a
and he
strategy
battled
in mind.
bigotry
So far,
with a
the batters are
noble
taking these
restraint.
pitches.
Hank Greenberg demonstrated how a man of conviction
goes on
can
strikes.
overcome prejudice.
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout.
Hitler had risen to power in Germany. The rest of the world was beginning to become aware that this was not just some lunatic who was going to rise up and fall down and go away. And the people that he scorned were first and foremost Jews.
The events in Europe were leading to the Holocaust, beginning of the Holocaust.
Judaism was under
Pitch
attack
missed inside.
worldwide. The anti-Semitism as Nazism spread was coming to haunt the American Jewish community,
Strike 3
and
sends
they
him
needed
back to the dugout
a
with
symbol, they
nothing to
needed a
show for
figure
that
to rally
AB.
around.
The Jewish community
After 7 and a
in the
half, the
1930s
Indians lead by 4.
incredibly on the defensive. Not only what's going on in
To the
Europe,
plate with
the
a double on
discrimination
the
against
game,
Jews is
and
here,
he
there,
returned.
in this country.
Some people, you're never going to be anything but a Jew in a
the
negative
pitch.
connotation.
Jews are practically in the same position as blacks. They were just a lot on the bus in a better seat than a black person, but he was also a rejected human being.
Detroit at that time was not a particularly warm environment for Jews. There were signs, Jews and dogs, not welcome.
Some of the wealthier Jewish people outside the area had built a summer camp. As you walked around the lake, the signs were posted, Gentiles only. It was a time where Jews were very, very frightened.
Henry Ford, America's greatest automobile maker, candidate almost for the presidency of the United States, was also America's greatest Semite.
Henry Ford had a Dearborn press.
And he's down on
That was
strike.
a woeful anti-Semitic read. He published a book called The International Jew.
There was a father cop who had a national radio show and who was vitriolic, anti-Semite, racist, and that was one side of Detroit being portrayed nationally.
My friends, may I pause to repeat what the whole world knows. That these financial institutions were dominated by international-minded Jews, warmongers.
1-2 the count. He swiped one
In the
base.
spring of 1933, when Hitler was taking control of Germany,
Hit to the
a
right
tall,
side.
quiet man with sure hands and a powerful swing began his rookie season with Detroit.
Hank said that every day of his career, he was called some name from either the opposing dugout or from fans in the stands. Sheeny, Pike, Mo, Pants Presser.
Back then, bench jockeys would call Germans Krauts, Italians Wops or Dagos, and this was somewhat bruising. But Greenberg said, hey, I was the only Jew.
When Hank began playing in the minor leagues, another player from the South said, hey, tell me you're Jewish. I can't believe it. And Hank said, why? And the other player said, because I have heard that all Jews have horns in their head, like the devil.
However painful his isolation, Greenberg refused to follow the example of some other major leaguers by changing his name to one with a more acceptable sound. Raised an Orthodox Jew, he was deeply proud of his heritage and quick to defend it against all comers.
He's hitting .265 with 3 home runs.
American League managers would yell at him from the dugout derisively. Throw a pork chop past him. He'll never hit a pork chop.
I felt awful sorry
What
for
a shot!
Oh, they used to get that Jewish boy.
Indeed, trouble as it bounces up against the wall.
Oh, they call him Christ Killer and all that sort.
Sheets is aboard with
One
nobody
day,
out.
Hank went into the White Sox clubhouse and challenged the White Sox team, saying, I don't like what you guys are saying to me, and I'm not going to.
I want the guy that called me a yellow Jew SOB stand-up. And Hank walked in front of all the lockers and looked back at all of them and left. The guy that said that was the luckiest guy in the world. Hank had killed him.
I was pitching once, and guys from the other dugout were yelling, hey, Hitler's looking for you. Hank came over to me. Did you hear what he said?
There's a slow roller
And that's
to third.
when I threw at him. When I hit him, he
His
got to
third
first
base hit of the
base.
game.
And Hank said to
good
him,
work there to get the runner in score position.
don't run in the dugout after it's over with, because I'm going after
And
you.
here's the delivery.
In fact, I had the feeling that some of our own players had that feeling about it. I was able to tell by the way they
And there's a
associated
swing and a
with
miss.
Hank,
Infield's got to
they
think about playing a double
would
play
stay
game
away
right
from
now.
him.
Eisenstadt told me that one of the pieces of advice that Hank gave him early on was not to play cards for money with the other players.
He
He was afraid that I kept winning all the
Jackson
time,
takes, and
and
it's ball
he didn't
one.
want them to have any comments, so that's why he says, if I were you, I'd cut it out.
In his third season, Greenberg was voted MVP after knocking in 170 runs, 51 more than runner-up Lou Gehrig, as he led Detroit into the 1935 World Series against Chicago.
The plate.
Cubs were on his case so hard, so offensive. The home plate umpire, George Moriarty, stopped the game, went over to the Cubs bench and said, I'm going to clear this bench and throw everybody out of this game other than the 9 players playing if you don't stop it right now.
Moriarty went over there to tell us to kind of keep our language down and don't use too many cuss words, otherwise
Coming to the plate
we'll clean the bench out.
He talked about how much it hurt his feelings to have people yell those things, but as a competitor, his reaction was ultimately anger that turned into determination to show them they didn't know what they were talking about.
He turned it around by being more determined to prove that he would succeed and that the guys who were hurling abuse at him would someday stare at him in amazement as he succeeded.
He says, well, there are too many Jewish people that because they didn't do well in whatever they're trying to do, be a cop-out because they were Jewish. We don't want to use that as a crutch.
He took great pride in excelling as a Jew in the midst of this anti-Semitic furor. He did, in fact, once say that he felt every home run he hit in 1938 was a home run against Hitler.
Ortiz makes the routine catch.
Hank was the perfect standard bearer for Jews. He was smart, he was proud, he was big. Hank did break the stereotype of Jews being small, bookish people.
People did not expect Jews to be good athletes. I had a high school coach one time ask me why I was out for football.
And I said, because I love it. He said, well, you're different than most Jews because Jew boys don't like contact sports.
Hank Greenberg was a tough Jew when tough Jews were important. Greenberg came along at a time when American Jews needed a way of defining themselves.
He didn't choose to be a person who had to lead people, raise their self-esteem. He probably would have rather just been a baseball player and judged by his record.
In September of 1934, Greenberg's baseball and religious imperatives collided. Leading the second-place Yankees by just 4 games with 20 to play, Detroit needed his thundering bat. And many in the Jewish community wanted him out of the lineup and in the synagogue on Rosh Hashanah.
There was pressure on him to decide whether or not to play on one of the holiest of the Jewish holidays, the Jewish New Year.
He was not a religious person. If he had been a religious person, it would have been no decision, because, as we all know, if you're a religious Jew, you don't play on Rosh Hashanah. He desperately wanted to play.
Someone found an obscure passage in the Talmud which declared that the children play in the streets of Jerusalem on that day. The fact that they were Roman children, not Jewish children, sort of slipped by those who were attempting to make this explanation.
Greenberg, after the delivery, for the right call from God, finally decided after consultation several rounds that it was okay to play on Rosh Hashanah.
I went out and loosened up. I came back at the start of the game, and here Hank was ready to go. I was never so happy to see anybody in my life as I was to see him. We won the ball game 2-1, and Hank Greenberg hit 2 home runs that day.
The next morning in one of the Detroit papers, a banner across the top was in Hebrew, Happy New Year.
There were Hebrew words. Hebrew words.
Here's the pitch.
Shana Tova Tikatevu. May you be inscribed for a good year, a year of happiness, a year of fulfillment. It was as though the voice of the Jewish community had now entered the orchestration of the American life.
If playing baseball on Rosh Hashanah was acceptable to many in the Jewish community, playing 9 days later on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the holiest of holy days, was not. Either way he turned, Greenberg faced a firewall of opposition.
The issue of religion and conflict, playing the game, swept the entire city and indeed the country as a whole.
He understood that he really could not play. It was a larger community, his family, his friends, and those who looked up to him who would be bitterly and forever disappointed if he played on Yom Kippur.
It said something about Hank. That the holiday meant more to him. He respected him for that. Hank Greenberg isn't playing on Yom Kippur. Hank Greenberg isn't playing.
He's around second.
Scene is the large synagogue. Part of Detroit.
Making their own breaks in the basement.
Dramatic moment.
That was some good
Hank Greenberg walks into the synagogue, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, and declares, as it were, by his presence, his identification with the heritage of his people.
I remember everybody, even though prayers were being said, turned around in a flash and started buzzing to each other. And I was just astonished. And the rabbi slapped his fist on the podium and tried to restore order.
There was a stream of humanity, surged. Children stood on chairs. Hank Greenberg, the legend, had come to celebrate the holy day of the year.
He used to say that the one time he really felt like a hero was when he walked into Sheretz Zedek Synagogue in the middle of the high holiday services, and I think that was certainly the beginning of his recognition that he meant something to the Jews in Detroit that transcended what he did on the ball field.
He wasn't doing it as a way to get other people to act the way he did. He was doing it to act properly in the eyes of his fellow Jews.
Because of this one moment in time, Greenberg's stature as an American Jewish hero skyrocketed.
I won a doubleheader in '39 against Philadelphia. And Hank Greenberg hit 3 home runs. The manager at the time said, "Fellows, lock yourself in your rooms tonight because the Jews of Detroit are going crazy."
To his tribesmen, to his people, he was very much available. When he would walk home from services after the holidays, he would make it a point to stop and chat with the people on their porches.
Every time they played, I'd manage to go up to the game and bring a couple of sandwiches, and I slipped them to him. Nova Scotia sturgeon and cream cheese on a bagel. How he loved them.
The Tigers had brought the Hebrew school kids to a ball game, and one of them yelled out in Yiddish, "I'm hungry." And Greenberg beckoned a peanut vendor over and he said, "Take care of him and charge it to me."
My dad used to tell the story of the time he came out of Yankee Stadium as a young player to find his father, my grandfather, standing there signing autographs, and the kids in total amusement looking at the ball as if they were mystified. So my father finally went over and took one of the balls, and my grandfather was signing his autograph in Hebrew.
He transformed the public's response to him. It was now not only no longer fashionable to call him a kite, it would earn you a punch in the mouth.
Everything about him, you could see that this was a man, a mensch. There was nothing you could look at in a negative way. He had to help the Jewish image.
He gave to the name Jew and to the Jewish community itself an honor, a nobility, a dignity that lifted their hearts.
Jews need their great authors, their great scientists. We also need our athletes. We need our Hank Greenbergs.
It was the kind of culture where everybody was scrapping for a living. The Jewish population, they had come over to America. Many of them had no means to make a living.
My grandparents were Orthodox Jews, coming from the old country as they did, and very observant.
His father was in the cloak business, in the dyeing process. I guess his father thought he would get into that.
Born on New Year's Day, 1911, to David and Sarah Greenberg in Manhattan's Greenwich Village, Henry Benjamin was the third of 4 children.
Hank would tell the story like at Halloween, running from some of the Gentile kids who were beating up on the Jewish kids, and they would put coal in a sock and chase the kids and hit them.
So there were neighborhoods that also were very clearly marked. You didn't step over the boundary without running a risk, if you were a Jewish boy walking into an Italian neighborhood, of being attacked as a Christ killer.
By the time Hank entered James Monroe High School, the Greenbergs had moved to the Bronx, where his passage through adolescence was painful.
He was very uncomfortable in his own skin as a young man. He was exceedingly tall, had acne, was gangly, was a little uncoordinated.
I think he was extremely shy. He probably didn't learn a lot of social graces growing up in the kind of household that he did.
Everything was off, and he was very conscious of how uncomfortable he felt. And the one outlet for him was to go out on the ball field where his size actually worked to his benefit. From sun up till sundown, grab a handful of apples, throw them in his sack, go out to Crotona Park, and stay there all day. My dad was a hog of the bat, and he would occasionally let his younger brother take a few cuts and then send him back out to shag.
Joe would plead, "Come on, Hank, I want to have a couple of bats." And so Hank was exhausted. He said, "Okay." So Joe took a couple of hits. Hank got his energy back. He said, "Okay, Joe, out of the batter's box, I'm back in."
He built himself a homemade sliding pit. He would run down the alley, make a left-hand turn as if rounding the base behind the house, and practice his sliding